Welcome back, everyone. We've been looking ahead to celebrating Mother's Day on this show, but it's important to acknowledge that this day can also be complicated and hard. So here to discuss that reality and share tips on how to navigate it is maternal psychotherapist Erica Djossa. Thank you for joining us, Erica.
Thank you.
It's always good to have you here. So what is the first thing that we need to keep in mind when it comes to the reality of Mother's Day? Because we like to keep it real here.
I think it's this romanticized, so with any holiday or any special celebration, we have such big ideals for these days. Yeah. But we're human and life is messy. So I find it really difficult when talking with clients where they've lost maybe their mother.
Yeah.
Or they're trying to become mothers themselves and have struggled with infertility or secondary infertility. There's so many situations that you might be estranged from your mom or have a tense relationship. There's so many very real life things that happen that actually Mother's Day can bring to the surface for a lot of people. So some look forward and I want to hide in my, bed away and have a break, and the kids will bring me breakfast and we'll have this break. But others, it's a really tense and emotional time. Or we're also prioritizing mother-in-laws or our own mothers and putting our needs on the back burner still by putting their needs above our own.
Oh my gosh, I have so many thoughts on this one. So I remember when I had my first baby, I went for my very first Mother's Day. We went to this beautiful restaurant in the West End of Toronto, and I was there with Leo, and the baby was fussy, and I remember I had a blog at the time, and I had written this beautiful blog post about how it was my first Mother's Day, and it was probably the worst Mother's Day I'd ever had. And I was nervous, and I was overwhelmed, and I was anxious that he was going to cry. And I remember sitting there at the table and Leo taking him to the bathroom and me just sitting there at that table by myself and thinking, I can't wait until this is over.
Yeah.
And I went back to my blog like maybe a month later and I said, by the way, I am a big fat liar, because right now I am depressed. I am exhausted. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what his cries mean. I'm incredibly sad.
Yeah.
And it was just the difference between the reality of Mother's Day and this postcard that we've made up, you know? So I think it is important that we understand that we are human, like you said, Erica, and there can be all these circumstances that are happening that might not make it the best day of the year for you. You know, and I realize also having a mom that I had to figure out how to separate, because I want her to be honored. So now she gets the day before Mother's Day for her, and then I do Mother's Day for me. So that's how we sort of work it out. What do you hear from your clients? Like, what do they say to you about like their complaints about Mother's Day?
Well, when you are struggling, whether it's some of the things like infertility, miscarriage, like we talked about, or with our mental health, depression, stress, the job losses, moving, any of those things, I think that we cling so tightly to Mother's Day as a day that will, I don't know if it's like fix those things, but like make up for it, you know?
Yeah.
But realistically, my clients talk about how they're like emotionally depleted. They're not getting acknowledged for the household labor and the invisible load that they carry, and they're actually running a deficit in their like emotional bank account.
Right.
So we want so badly for there to be a deposit into our emotional bank account on Mother's Day, but it is never going to be enough to bring it up to where it should be if we're running a deficit day to day.
Totally.
And so actually the flip side is like the hangover that comes after Mother's Day, where women or moms are like, oh, but my partner didn't do this, or they didn't do enough.
Yeah.
And I think that it's challenging because what could possibly be enough to show you all that you do, right? Like it's like a tricky, like slippery slope there, where if we're expecting that to come up to a green balance in emotional bank account based on one day or one interaction, we get let down. It's not realistic.
Totally. We got to take the pressure off. Like, this one day is not going to fix it at all.
No.
Maybe it's an extra day to hang out with your family, or maybe have some time by yourself, but this is not going to be the thing that fixes your whole motherhood experience. And it's also not the best representation of how much you're loved.
Yeah.
You know, they can't all do that in one day. So let's talk about partners. Let's talk about the support that we should be getting, or how they can help. What do mothers really want for Mother's Day from their partners or their support system?
I think those daily emotional deposits, like feeling seen and recognized and heard every other day, really makes Mother's Day like special, and the kids will bring me breakfast and it'll be like a cute thing, but we don't hold so tightly to it as meeting all of our needs. So that's one. And two, when we are gift giving, I know that Sarah talked about taking off some of that invisible labor.
Yeah.
We want to actually plan the childcare and the meals and all the things to open up the window of time to go for your pedicure or to go on your experience and do these things. So tuning into the invisible labor that comes with the gifts that we are also giving and doing that labor for mom is a great place to start.
One of the most beautiful things I remember my husband would do is he would just look at my face, because I'm not going to vocalize it. I'm bad at that. But he would be like, she is gonna snap, and he would just say, I'm taking the kids to the park. And I'd be like, okay, like tears coming out of my eyes, like, okay. And it was the best thing he could have done. So thank you so much for that advice. Moms, take it easy out there, right? If there's anything we should remember on Mother's Day, take the pressure off.
Take the pressure off and vocalize your needs. Like set the expectation for your partner. Let them know clearly what you need. Maybe it is an empty house with no noise for the day, and that's okay. Whatever your needs are, don't let it be sort of prescribed for you. Tune in, figure out what it is, and really communicate that clearly.
Beautiful. Thank you, Erica.